The gravel crunches beneath my worn boots as I step out of my old Honda, the engine ticking like a dying clock in the Carolina heat. Pine trees tower around Eleanor's estate like silent sentinels, their needles whispering secrets I'm not sure I want to hear. The air smells of red clay and memories, thick enough to choke on. I haven't been back to this place in 3 years. Not since that Christmas, when Lena made it crystal clear that my presence was about as welcome as a snake in church. Her words still echo in my head. Honestly, Callum, what do you even contribute to this family? I'd left before dessert that night, driving back to my small apartment above the hardware store, where the only family photos I keep are the ones with Eleanor. Now she's gone, and here I am again, standing in the shadow of the house that raised me after my parents' divorce turned my childhood into a battlefield. The wraparound porch sags a little more than I remember, paint peeling like old scabs. Eleanor would have hated seeing it like this, but I suppose the family had more important things to spend money on than maintaining the place that made their fortune possible. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. Well, look what the cat dragged in. Lena's voice cuts through the humid air like a blade wrapped in silk. She emerges from the front door wearing a black dress that probably cost more than I make in a month, her silver hair pulled back in a perfect chignon. Even in mourning, she manages to look like she's posing for a magazine cover. I wasn't sure you'd actually show up, Callum. She was my grandmother, too. I keep my voice steady, the way I learned to do during all those years of being overlooked at family gatherings. Behind Lena, I catch sight of Griffin lounging against the doorframe, his expensive suit wrinkled like he slept in it. He raises his hand in what might generously be called a wave, though it looks more like he's shooing away a fly. Uncle Russell appears next, moving slower than I remember, his cane tapping against the floorboards. Time has carved deep lines into his face, and his eyes hold a weariness that seems to go bone deep. He nods at me, the closest thing to warmth I've received since arriving. The funeral's tomorrow at 10, Lena says, her tone suggesting this is more information than I deserve. Mr. Holloway wants to see everyone afterward for the reading of the will. I assume you can spare another day away from whatever it is you do now. I think about my job at the elementary school, mopping floors and fixing broken desks, and the kids at the youth center who call me Mr. Callum and actually seem happy to see me. It's honest work, the kind Eleanor always respected, even if the rest of the family sees it as proof of my failure to launch. I'll be there, I tell them, and walk toward my car, feeling their eyes follow me like searchlights tracking an intruder. Tomorrow, everything changes. The ancestral sitting room feels smaller than I remember, crowded with ghosts and grudges. Mr. Holloway adjusts his wire-rimmed glasses and opens his leather briefcase with practiced precision. He's been the Reed family lawyer for 30 years, and his weathered face reveals nothing. Before we begin, he says, Eleanor left specific instructions that this reading be conducted exactly as she outlined. No interruptions, no questions until I've finished everything. Lena sits rigid, hands folded like a schoolgirl, pretending to be attentive. Griffin sprawls beside her, checking his phone. Uncle Russell stares at the floor. I choose the chair farthest from the rest, near the window where Eleanor used to keep her African violets. The familiar legal language flows. Sound mind, worldly possessions, beloved family members. Standard phrases that feel anything but standard when they're about someone who shaped your entire understanding of goodness. To my grandsons Griffin and Marcus, I leave my collection of first edition novels and $50,000 each. To my son Russell Reed, $100,000 and my late husband's war medals. To my daughter-in-law Lena Reed, my jewelry collection and $200,000. Lena's smile is sharp enough to cut glass. Everyone knows what comes next. The estate itself. 37 acres worth easily $2 million, maybe more. As for the remainder of my estate, including this house, all landholdings, remaining financial assets, and personal effects, I leave everything, without restriction or condition, to my grandson Callum James Reed. The silence that follows is complete, then Griffin laughs, actually laughs, a sharp, disbelieving sound. I'm sorry, what? Lena's voice is deadly calm. Did you say Callum? There must be some mistake, Griffin adds. Callum's a janitor. Mr. Holloway withdraws an envelope sealed with Eleanor's violet wax. Eleanor anticipated questions. She left this to be read immediately. He unfolds Eleanor's cream-colored stationery and reads, My dear family, if you are hearing this, you are likely surprised. Let me be clear, this is not a mistake. Callum, you are probably as shocked as the others. The answer is simple. You are the only one who visited me, not because you wanted something, but because you wanted to give something. In 33 years, you have never once asked me for money, never treated me like a means to an end. Griffin shoots to his feet. This is insane! He manipulated her, played on her emotions because she was old and lonely. Griffin, Uncle Russell's voice cuts like a whip. Sit down and show some respect. Lena stands with predatory grace. Mr. Holloway, I'll need copies of all documentation. We'll be reviewing every aspect of this will for irregularities. Of course, Mr. Holloway replies smoothly, though Eleanor had me record a video message as well, specifically addressing potential legal challenges. I finally find my voice. I don't understand why she chose me. Mr. Holloway looks at me over his glasses. Perhaps because you're the only one asking that question instead of demanding what you think you deserve. 3 days later, I am still living in Eleanor's house, expecting to wake up and find this was all a dream. But the sunrise through her lace curtains reminds me this impossible thing has actually happened. Griffin's voice carries across the morning air as he talks to Bob Henley in the neighboring driveway. Phrases like undue influence and mental incompetence drift over like poison seeds. Callum always was strange, Griffin says, pitched just loud enough to carry. The kind of person who'd take advantage of an elderly woman's loneliness. Uncle Russell steps onto the porch, settling into Eleanor's rocking chair. He's scared. They all are. Of what? Of you. Of what you represent. This family's been living off Eleanor's reputation for decades. Now that's yours, and they don't know who they are without it. He withdraws a yellowed letter from his jacket. Found this in my father's things. Eleanor wrote it in 1987, right after your parents' divorce. I unfold it carefully. Eleanor's younger handwriting flows across the page. I see something in Callum that reminds me of Daddy during the Depression. That quiet strength that doesn't break under pressure. The others mistake his gentleness for weakness, but I know better. He's got steel in his spine. It's just wrapped in velvet. She wrote that when you were 7, Russell says quietly. Been planning this for 26 years. Lena's car slams in the driveway. She approaches with determined stride, wearing a sharp business suit. We need to talk, she says. I've been on the phone with my legal team. There are ways to contest this will. Eleanor's mind was sharp right up to the end, I say, standing. You know that. What I know is that you spent an awful lot of time alone with her, long enough to convince her that her own children weren't worthy. When's the last time you visited Eleanor, really visited, not just called when you needed something? Lena's composure cracks. I was building a career, raising a son. I visited because I loved her. None of that was calculated, Lena. Maybe that's what you can't understand. She stares at me, surprised that the quiet janitor has a backbone. Then the mask slides back. This isn't over, Callum. Not by a long shot. The hidden compartment in Eleanor's sewing cabinet reveals itself by accident while I'm cleaning her bedroom. Underneath fabric scraps, wrapped in lavender-scented tissue, I find a wooden box tied with faded blue ribbon. Inside are letters, dozens of them, written in Eleanor's script on cream-colored stationery. Each envelope bears my name, but none are postmarked. Letters she wrote but never sent, spanning years. Dear Callum, the first begins, dated after my parents' divorce. You ask me why people stop loving each other. What I wanted to tell you is that love doesn't really stop. It just sometimes gets buried under hurt and pride. You are enough, sweet boy. You have always been enough. Each letter reveals pieces of history I didn't know existed. Eleanor, writing about my graduation, I watched you thank your teachers, mention your classmates' achievements before your own. You have the rarest gift, Callum. you make others feel seen. The most recent, dated 2 weeks before she died, true legacy lives in the lives we touch, the kindness we model, the quiet courage we display when no one's watching. You've been my greatest legacy, Callum. This land needs someone who understands that wealth is a responsibility, not a reward. Be brave, my dear boy. Be brave enough to claim your place in this world. I need air. My feet carry me to the library where Iris Calderon works. She looks up from the circulation desk, her dark eyes taking in my emotional state with understanding. Found some letters Eleanor wrote, but never sent, I tell her. 26 years worth. She was lonely after your visits became less frequent, Iris says gently, but she understood you were building your own life. She used to say you were the only Reed who visited because you wanted to be there. We sit in comfortable silence, surrounded by books and golden afternoon light. What are you thinking of doing with the estate? She asks. Something she'd be proud of, something that matters more than money. Iris squeezes my hand. She used to say you had your great-grandfather's heart, quiet on the outside, but strong enough to carry the world if needed. The youth center hasn't changed. Same scuffed floors, same curling motivational posters. But walking through the doors feels different now. Mr. Callum, Benji barrels across the room, all elbows and enthusiasm. Are you really rich now? Something like that, but I'm still the same person, Benji. Mrs. Chen approaches with tired smile. She's been stretching every dollar for 15 years, creating a haven for kids who need it most. How are things here? I ask. Her smile falters. We're managing. Though the budget's tighter this year, we might have to reduce hours or cut programs. The answer hits like a physical blow. These kids need this place. What if funding wasn't an issue anymore? That evening, I drive to Eleanor's old tobacco fields. Rich, dark soil stretches toward pine forest, fallow for years. I walk to the center and turn slowly, imagining possibilities. A community garden where kids could learn, grow things, discover their value. The vision becomes clearer in the gathering dusk. More than just a garden, but a place where kids like Benji learn they can create beautiful things. Griffin's BMW arrives the next morning. He gets out slowly, approaching where I sit with notebooks full of plans. Heard you were walking around the old field like you owned the place. I do own the place, Griffin. Look, we're family, right? This situation's torn everyone apart. Is that really what Eleanor would have wanted? Eleanor wanted me to have this place. But think about what you're giving up. Your quiet life, privacy, freedom. With this money comes responsibility. People will want things from you. Is that really how you want to live? Maybe it's time for some new expectations. Maybe the Reed family could stand for something different. Griffin's mask slips, revealing frustration. Like giving handouts to charity cases? Maybe the problem isn't throwing money at issues. Maybe it's throwing it at the wrong things. He stalks away, pausing at his car. When the novelty wears off and those kids move on, you'll still be alone. That's something all the money in the world can't fix. I watch him leave, then look at my notebook full of plans. By first frost, kids from the center will be harvesting vegetables they planted themselves. It's a start. Eleanor's kind of start. The courthouse steps feel slick under my worn dress shoes as I climb toward what Lena's legal team has dubbed the rectification of Eleanor Reed's final wishes. 3 months have passed since the will reading, 3 months of legal maneuvering and character assassination that's turned my quiet life into a public spectacle. Inside, the courtroom buzzes with small-town energy. Half of Cedar Falls seems to be here, packed into wooden pews like this is Sunday service instead of a probate hearing. I spot Mrs. Chen from the youth center, Bob Henley from the hardware store, even old Mr. Patterson who runs the gas station. Their presence feels like armor against the storm I'm about to face. Lena sits at the plaintiff's table with 2 lawyers who look like they stepped out of a magazine ad for expensive litigation. She's wearing navy blue today, serious, trustworthy, the kind of outfit that says, "I'm just trying to protect a confused old woman's legacy." Griffin sits beside her, fidgeting with his phone, shooting occasional glares in my direction. Mr. Holloway settles beside me at the defendant's table, his calm presence steadying my nerves. "Remember," he says quietly, "truth has a way of surfacing, even when people try to bury it." Judge Martinez calls the court to order, her voice cutting through the murmur of conversation. She's a small woman, with steel-gray hair, and eyes that suggest she's seen every trick in the book and invented a few of her own. Lena's lead attorney, a sharp-faced man named Brennan, opens with a performance that would make a theater director proud. He paints Eleanor as a lonely, increasingly frail woman, susceptible to manipulation by someone who preyed upon her isolation and declining mental faculties. "The defendant," Brennan says, pointing at me like I'm a criminal, "systematically isolated Mrs. Reed from her family, convincing her that her own children and grandchildren had abandoned her. He positioned himself as her only friend, her only confidant, slowly but surely turning her against those who truly loved her." The words sting because there's just enough truth twisted into them to feel plausible. I did visit Eleanor more than anyone else. I did listen to her complaints about family members who rarely called. But the idea that I manipulated her loneliness feels like someone taking my deepest love and turning it into something ugly. Griffin takes the stand first, his testimony a masterclass in selective memory. Yes, he admits, he didn't visit Eleanor often, but that was because Callum was always there, monopolizing her time, making the rest of us feel unwelcome. He describes family gatherings where I supposedly whispered in Eleanor's ear, turning her against relatives who only wanted what was best for her. He was obsessed with her, Griffin says, his voice carrying just the right note of concern. It wasn't healthy, the way he hung on her every word, the way he encouraged her to distrust everyone else. When Mr. Holloway cross-examines, Griffin's story starts to crack. How many times did Griffin visit in Eleanor's final year? Well, I was busy with work, but how many phone calls? Look, I called when I could, but Callum was always. Did Eleanor ever ask Griffin for help with yard work, house repairs, grocery shopping? She never asked because she knew Callum would. The pattern becomes clear. Griffin's defense is that he was too busy living his own life to be bothered with his grandmother's needs. But somehow this makes him more deserving of her legacy than the grandson who actually showed up. Lena takes the stand next, her performance more polished than Griffin's. She speaks of Eleanor with genuine affection, describing childhood memories and family traditions. But when pressed about recent years, her testimony reveals the same pattern of benign neglect dressed up as respect for Eleanor's independence. I didn't want to intrude, she explains. Eleanor was a proud woman who valued her privacy. I thought the best way to honor that was to give her space. Even when she called asking for help, Mr. Holloway asks. She rarely called, and when she did, Callum was usually there to handle whatever she needed. So you were comfortable letting him shoulder all the responsibility? Lena's composure flickers. That's not how I saw it at the time. The real drama comes when Uncle Russell is called to testify. I watch him make his way slowly to the witness stand, his cane tapping against the marble floor. He's aged visibly in the months since Eleanor's death, his shoulders more stooped, his movements more careful. Brennan clearly expects Russell to support the family's case. After all, he's Eleanor's son, the one most hurt by being passed over in favor of a grandson. But Russell settles into the witness chair with the deliberate calm of a man who's made his peace with hard truths. Mr. Reed, Brennan begins, as Eleanor's eldest son, you must have been surprised by the terms of her will. Surprised? No. Russell's voice carries clearly through the courtroom. Disappointed in myself, maybe, but not surprised. Brennan's confident expression wavers. I'm sorry. Could you clarify what you mean? I mean Eleanor made the right choice, the only choice that made sense if you knew her at all. The courtroom goes dead silent. Lena's face has gone pale, and Griffin looks like he's been slapped. Mr. Reed, Brennan tries again, surely you can't believe that your mother was thinking clearly when she... My mother's mind was sharp as a tack right up until the day she died, Russell interrupts. Sharper than mine, if I'm being honest. She saw things the rest of us missed, understood people in ways we never bothered to try. He turns to look directly at me, and I see something in his eyes I've never seen before. Respect, maybe even admiration. Callum earned that inheritance every day for 26 years, not by asking for it, not by manipulating anyone, but by being the kind of man Eleanor raised him to be. The kind of man the rest of us never quite managed to become. Telling and preparing this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now, back to the story. Brennan scrambles to salvage his case, but Russell's testimony has shifted the entire atmosphere in the courtroom. When Mr. Holloway stands for redirect, he gets right to the heart of things. Mr. Reed, in your opinion, was Eleanor mentally competent when she made her final will? Completely. Did she ever express doubts about her decision regarding Callum? Never. If anything, she seemed more certain as time went on that she'd chosen right. And why do you think she chose him? Russell is quiet for a long moment, gathering his thoughts. Because Callum understood something the rest of us forgot. That love isn't about what you can get from someone. It's about what you're willing to give. Eleanor spent her whole life giving, building something meaningful. She needed to know it would go to someone who'd keep giving, not just taking. The final piece of Mr. Holloway's defense is a recording Eleanor made just weeks before her death, a video statement she'd insisted on creating in case anyone tries to question my decision. On the courtroom screen, Eleanor appears in her favorite chair by the fireplace, looking directly into the camera with eyes that are undeniably clear and focused. If you're watching this, she says, it means someone is challenging my will, probably Lena or Griffin. Let me be absolutely clear, I am of sound mind and body. I know exactly what I'm doing and why. She pauses, seeming to look directly at her doubters across time and space. Callum has never asked me for anything except the chance to help. He's painted my fence, fixed my roof, sat with me through 2 bouts of pneumonia, and listened to my stories about people he never met, because he understood they mattered to me. He's the only one who visits because he wants to, not because he should. Her voice grows stronger, more determined. To those who think I owe them something because we share blood, love isn't inherited, it's earned, and Callum has earned everything I'm giving him. When the video ends, the courtroom is silent except for the soft sound of someone crying. I think it might be me. Judge Martinez deliberates for less than an hour. When she returns, her decision is swift and final. The court finds no evidence of undue influence, mental incompetence, or procedural irregularities in the execution of Eleanor Reed's final will and testament. The will stands as written. The legal victory feels hollow as I sit alone in Eleanor's kitchen 3 days later, watching morning light stream through windows she'll never look through again. The house is too quiet without her humming, too empty without her stories filling the spaces between heartbeats. I find her final letter in the place she said it would be, tucked inside her recipe box, beneath the card for her famous peach cobbler. The envelope is marked simply, "For Callum, when the fighting stops." My dearest boy, it begins, if you're reading this, it means you've weathered the storm I knew would come. The lawyers have gone home, the family has said their piece, and you're sitting in my kitchen wondering what comes next. I need you to forgive them, Callum. Not because they deserve it, but because carrying anger will poison everything good you're trying to build. Lena loves this family in her own wounded way. Griffin is lost and frightened, striking out because he doesn't know who he is without inherited importance. They'll come around, or they won't, but either way, your heart will remain clean. More than that, I need you to forgive yourself for not visiting more often, for not seeing how much I needed you, for not believing you deserved this inheritance. You've spent your whole life feeling like an outsider in your own family, but you were never an outsider to me. You were my greatest joy, my proof that goodness still existed in the world. The land is yours now, truly yours, but remember, ownership isn't about possession, it's about stewardship. Make something beautiful, something lasting. Show them all what the Reed name can really mean. All my love, Eleanor. P.S. Check the old oak tree. There's something there I've been saving for the right moment. I walk outside, my bare feet finding the familiar path to the oak tree, where Eleanor used to sit and shell peas in the summer. At its base, partially hidden by fallen leaves, I find a small metal box wrapped in oilcloth. Inside is a photograph of my great-grandfather in his army uniform, standing beside the sapling that became this giant oak. On the back, in Eleanor's young handwriting, Henry Reed Plants Hope, 1943. Beneath the photo is a folded deed, not to this property, but to the abandoned Mitchell farm that borders our eastern edge. Eleanor bought it quietly last year and never told anyone. The implications hit me like a lightning bolt. The Mitchell place has another 40 acres, including the old barn that could be converted into workshop space and the creek that runs all the way to town. With both properties combined, the community garden I've been planning could become something much bigger, a real agricultural education center, maybe even a small working farm where kids could learn everything from planting to harvesting to caring for animals. Uncle Russell appears at my shoulder as if summoned by the rustling of dreams taking shape. He's moving better today, his cane more of a companion than a necessity. "She told me about the Mitchell place," he says quietly. "Ask what I thought about expanding the property. I told her it seemed like throwing good money after bad. That old farm's been nothing but trouble for 20 years. What did she say? She said trouble was just another word for opportunity wearing work clothes. He chuckles, the sound rough with emotion. Smart woman, your grandmother. Smarter than her fool son, anyway. We stand together in comfortable silence, watching a hawk circle high above the tree line. Finally, Russell speaks again. I owe you an apology, Callum, not just for the court business, though I should have spoken up sooner about that nonsense. I owe you an apology for 33 years of treating you like you didn't quite belong. Uncle Russell. No, let me finish. I was jealous, if I'm being honest. Jealous that you had Eleanor's heart in a way I never did. Jealous that you could be the kind of man she was proud of without even trying. I spent so many years resenting what I couldn't have that I never appreciated what was right in front of me. He turns to face me fully, his eyes clear and direct. You're going to do something special with this place. I can feel it. And when people talk about the Reed family legacy 50 years from now, they won't remember Lena's lawsuits or Griffin's entitlement. They'll remember what you built here. That evening, I drive into town for supplies and stop by the library to share the news with Iris. She's closing up for the day, but her face lights up when she sees me approaching. You look like a man with a plan, she says, stepping onto the sidewalk and locking the door behind her. Eleanor left me another 40 acres. The old Mitchell farm. Iris's eyes widen. Callum, that's incredible. Do you know what this means? It means I can build something bigger than I ever imagined. Not just a garden, but a real education center. Maybe even a working farm where kids can learn about agriculture, sustainability, animal care. It means you can change lives, she says softly, not just for the kids who come here, but for this whole community. We walk toward Main Street, past shop windows already decorated for the upcoming Harvest Festival. For the first time since Eleanor's death, the future feels full of possibility instead of weight. There's something else, I tell her. I want you to be part of this. The education center will need a library, programs for literacy and research. I can't think of anyone better to run that part. Quote, she stops walking and turns to face me, her expression serious. Callum, are you asking me to... I'm asking if you want to help build something that matters, something Eleanor would be proud of. Her answer comes in the form of a kiss, soft and sure under the streetlights of the town that raised us both. 6 months later, the Eleanor Reed Community Learning Farm spreads across both properties like a patchwork quilt of possibility. The old tobacco fields have been transformed into demonstration gardens where kids learn to grow everything from heirloom tomatoes to heritage corn. The Mitchell barn has become a workshop and meeting space, its weathered walls now lined with tools and bookshelves and hope. Today is our official opening, though we've been running programs for weeks. The whole town seems to have turned out for the celebration, along with reporters from 3 newspapers and a television crew from Charlotte. But the faces that matter most belong to the kids from the youth center, their families, and the volunteers who've made this dream possible. Benji races up to me as I'm adjusting the microphone for the dedication ceremony, his face flushed with excitement and pride. "Mr. Callum, my mom says this is the first time in her life she's seen me excited about school stuff. And Mrs. Chen says I can help teach the younger kids how to plant seeds next month." "That's because you've become quite the expert," I tell him, ruffling his hair. "Remember when you thought tomatoes grew on trees? That was before I learned about agriculture and stuff," he says with the dignity of a 10-year-old who's discovered his calling. "Now I'm thinking maybe I want to be a farmer and a veterinarian. Is that allowed?" "Absolutely. The world needs people who understand both plants and animals." The crowd gathers around the small stage we've set up near the oak tree where this all began. I see familiar faces mixed with strangers. Mrs. Patterson from the post office, Bob Henley from the hardware store, families I don't recognize but who've heard about what we're building here. Near the back, almost hidden behind a group of teenagers, I spot Griffin. He looks different. Thinner, his expensive clothes replaced by jeans and a simple button-down shirt. When our eyes meet, he nods slightly, and I'm surprised to see something that might be respect in his expression. Iris steps up to the microphone first, her voice carrying easily across the crowd. "Welcome to the Eleanor Reed Community Learning Farm. 2 years ago, this land was fallow, unused, waiting. Today, it's alive with purpose. Growing not just vegetables, but understanding. Not just crops, but community." She talks about the literacy programs we're launching, the partnership with the local school system, the scholarship fund we've established for kids who want to pursue agricultural or environmental studies. Every word makes Eleanor's investment feel more solid, more real. When it's my turn to speak, I find myself looking up at the oak tree, imagining Eleanor sitting beneath it with her evening tea, watching everything we've built. My grandmother used to say that the best inheritance isn't money. It's the knowledge that you've made the world a little better than you found it. Today, looking at all of you, seeing what we've created together, I finally understand what she meant. I talk about the 20 kids enrolled in our summer program, the waiting list for fall classes, the community garden plots that families can rent for $10 a season. But mostly I talk about Benji and kids like him, young people who are discovering that they have something valuable to contribute, that their hands can create beautiful things, that someone believes in their potential. The ceremony ends with Benji and his younger sister planting a sapling beside Eleanor's oak tree, a peach tree that will provide fruit for the next generation of children who find their way to this place. As the crowd disperses, people lingering to explore the gardens and workshops, Griffin approaches me hesitantly. "Callum," he says, his voice lacking its usual arrogance, "I wondered if I could talk to you for a minute." We walk away from the crowd, toward the edge of the property where the old fence line marks the boundary between past and future. "I owe you an apology," he says without preamble. "Actually, I owe you about a dozen apologies, but I'll start with the big one. I was wrong about you, wrong about Eleanor, wrong about pretty much everything." "Griffin." "No, let me finish. I've spent the last 6 months thinking about what Uncle Russell said in court, about earning love instead of expecting it. I haven't earned much of anything, have I? Not from Eleanor, not from this family, not from anyone." He's quiet for a moment, watching a group of kids chase fireflies in the gathering dusk. "I've been in therapy," he continues. "Court-ordered at first, after some trouble with gambling debts. But I kept going because I started to see how messed up my thinking had become, how entitled and bitter and just empty. What are you going to do now?" "I was hoping," he says carefully, "that maybe I could volunteer here sometimes. I don't know anything about farming or teaching kids, but I could learn. If you'll have me." The request surprises me, but looking at him now, really looking, I see something I never noticed before. Underneath the arrogance and entitlement, Griffin is just another lost person, trying to find his way home. "We can always use help," I tell him. "But it's hard work, and the pay is terrible." For the first time in memory, Griffin laughs without cynicism. I think that might be exactly what I need. September arrives with crisp mornings, and the kind of light that makes everything look like a painting. The farm has settled into its rhythm. Kids arriving after school for homework help and garden work. Families harvesting from their plots on weekends. The steady hum of a place that knows its purpose. I'm in the workshop, helping a group of middle schoolers build raised beds for the winter greenhouse, when Iris appears in the doorway with an expression I can't quite read. "Callum, there's someone here to see you," says she's family. My stomach tightens, expecting Lena with another legal challenge or some distant relative looking for handouts. But the woman sitting on Eleanor's front porch is someone I haven't seen in 5 years. My mother. Patricia Reed looks older than I remember, her brown hair streaked with silver, her face lined in ways that speak of hard years and harder choices. She's wearing a simple sundress and cardigan, her hands folded in her lap like a nervous schoolgirl. "Hello, Callum," she says as I approach, her voice carrying the same uncertainty I remember from childhood. "I hope it's all right that I came. I know we haven't. I mean, it's been a long time." It has. I settle into the rocking chair beside her, the same chair where Griffin made his desperate plea months ago. "What brings you here?" "I heard about Eleanor's will, about what you've done with the farm." She gestures toward the gardens visible from the porch. "I wanted to see it for myself, and I wanted to apologize." The word hangs between us, like a bridge I'm not sure I'm ready to cross. "For leaving," she continues. "For not fighting harder for you during the divorce. For letting your father's family become the only family you knew. You were doing what you needed to do to survive," I say, and I'm surprised to find I mean it. "I understand that now." "Do you?" "Because I'm not sure I do." She wipes at her eyes with a tissue that's already damp. "I left you with Eleanor. Because I knew she'd love you better than I could at the time. But I should have come back. Should have tried to rebuild our relationship once I got my life together." We sit in silence for a moment, watching Benji and another boy chase a chicken that's escaped from the coop we built last month. Their laughter carries on the breeze like music. "I remarried," Mom says quietly. "His name is David. He's a good man, very patient with broken things. We have a little house in Asheville, and he keeps saying I should reach out to you, that family matters too much to let pride get in the way." Is that what this is? Pride? Shame, maybe. Fear that you'd turned out so well without me that you wouldn't need me anymore. She looks at me directly for the first time since arriving. "But seeing this place, seeing what you've built, Eleanor would be so proud, Callum. You're everything she always said you'd become." The conversation feels fragile, like something that could shatter if either of us moves too quickly. But underneath the awkwardness, I sense something genuine, not the desperate manipulation I've learned to recognize from other family members, but real regret and real hope. "Would you like a tour?" I ask. "See what we're doing here?" Her face lights up like a child's. "I'd love that." We spend the next hour walking through the gardens and workshop spaces, past the new greenhouse foundation, and the reading nook Iris has created under a grove of young apple trees. I introduce Mom to the kids as my mother Patricia, and watch her face soften as Benji explains the companion planting techniques he's mastered. "He reminds me of you at that age," she says as Benji races off to show another visitor his prize pumpkin. "So earnest about everything, so determined to get it right." I don't remember being earnest. I remember being scared most of the time. You were both, but you never let the fear stop you from trying. She touches my arm gently. "That's what I always admired about you, even when I was too selfish to say so." As afternoon fades toward evening, we find ourselves back on the porch where this visit began. The air smells of wood smoke and apple cider, and somewhere in the distance I can hear Griffin's voice as he helps a group of kids clean up the tool shed. "I don't expect forgiveness," Mom says as she prepares to leave. "I know I haven't earned it, but I hope maybe we could start over, slowly, if you're willing." I think about Eleanor's final letter, about the importance of forgiveness and clean hearts, about second chances and the courage to hope for better. "I'd like that," I tell her. "Maybe you could come back for Thanksgiving. We're planning a harvest feast for all the families involved with the farm." Her smile is radiant. "I'll bring David, and maybe some of those peach preserves Eleanor taught me to make before everything fell apart." After she leaves, I sit on the porch as darkness settles over the farm. Fireflies begin their ancient dance in the garden rows, and the sound of evening conversations drifts from the houses where some of our volunteers live in the converted outbuildings. Iris finds me there an hour later, settling beside me with 2 cups of tea and the comfortable quiet of someone who knows when words aren't necessary. "How do you feel?" she asks finally. "Like I'm finally learning how to be someone's son again," I tell her. "It's scarier than I expected." "The best things usually are," she says, taking my hand in the darkness. 5 years have passed since Eleanor's death. 5 years since my life changed course in ways I never could have imagined. The farm has grown beyond even my most ambitious dreams. We now serve 3 counties, with satellite programs in 2 other communities, and a waiting list of young people who want to join our agricultural leadership program. But today isn't about growth or expansion or any of the metrics that make board members and funders happy. Today is about completion, about honoring the past while planting seeds for the future. I sit beneath Eleanor's oak tree, now joined by the peach tree Benji planted on opening day. Both trees cast dappled shade over the small ceremony taking place at their roots, the burial of a time capsule filled with letters, photographs, and memories from everyone whose life has been touched by this place. Benji, now 15 and serving as our junior farm manager, reads from the letter he's written to future visitors. "When I first came here, I didn't know that dirt could teach you things, or that plants could make you feel important. Callum showed me that growing food is like growing hope. You plant it, you take care of it, and eventually it feeds people." He's grown tall and confident, this boy, who once asked if tomatoes grew on trees. Next year, he'll start college on a full scholarship, planning to study sustainable agriculture and rural education. But for now, he's still here, still teaching younger kids the lessons this land taught him. Griffin steps forward to add his own letter to the capsule. The change in him over these 5 years has been remarkable. Not just in appearance, though he's lost the soft edges of privilege and gained the lean strength that comes from honest work. The real change is deeper, visible in how he listens when kids talk, how he celebrates their small victories as if they were his own. "I'm not good with words," he begins, then laughs at himself. "Actually, I'm learning that I'm better with words than I thought. What I want people in the future to know is that this place saves people. Not just the kids who come here to learn about farming, but adults who've lost their way and need to remember what it feels like to help something grow." The letters pile up, from Mom and David, who've become regular volunteers, from Uncle Russell, who died peacefully last winter, but left behind detailed memories of Eleanor's early years building this farm, from Mrs. Chen and Bob Henley, and dozens of families whose children have found their calling in these fields. Iris adds her own contribution, a collection of photographs documenting the transformation of both the land and the people who tend it. "Eleanor always said that the best stories are the ones lived rather than told," she writes. These pictures tell the story of ordinary people doing extraordinary things, simply because someone believed they could. When it's my turn, I place Eleanor's original letter in the capsule, the one she left me about being brave enough to claim my place in the world. Beside it, I add my own letter to whoever might read this 50 years from now. To the future stewards of this land. When my grandmother died, she left me more than property. She left me a responsibility to prove that wealth means nothing if it doesn't make other lives better. This farm isn't my legacy. It belongs to every person who've learned to plant hope in difficult soil, who've discovered their own worth by helping things grow. If you're reading this, it means the work continues. It means someone still believes that the most important inheritance we can leave isn't money or land, but the knowledge that every person has something valuable to contribute to the world. Keep growing, keep believing, keep proving that love is the only investment that never fails to pay dividends. Callum Reed, October 2030. As we bury the capsule, the late afternoon sun filters through the oak leaves, casting the same golden light that illuminated Eleanor's evening tea time so many years ago. I can almost see her sitting in her favorite chair, nodding approval at what her investment of faith has yielded. A reporter from the regional magazine that's doing a feature on rural education programs asks me the question I've heard a dozen times before. Mr. Reed, when you inherited this property 5 years ago, did you ever imagine it would become what it is today? I look around at the bustling community that's grown up around Eleanor's oak tree, families harvesting their weekend vegetables, teenagers leading tours for visiting school groups, Griffin teaching a workshop on soil composition while Benji assists with the younger participants. I didn't inherit a fortune, I tell her, repeating the words that have become my standard response to questions about inheritance and legacy. I inherited a purpose. The fortune just made it possible to share that purpose with others. As evening settles over the farm and the last visitors head home, Iris and I remain beneath the oak tree, watching fireflies begin their nightly dance among the garden rows. In the distance, I can hear the sound of laughter from the residence hall where our seasonal interns live. Young people from around the country who come here to learn sustainable farming and take those lessons back to their own communities. Do you think she knew? Iris asks, her head resting against my shoulder. Eleanor, I mean. Do you think she knew it would become all this? I consider the question, remembering the letters Eleanor wrote but never sent, the careful way she documented every visit and conversation, the deliberate choice to leave me not just money but trust. I think she knew I'd try, I say finally. I think she believed that trying with your whole heart is usually enough. Above us, the oak tree rustles in the evening breeze, its leaves whispering secrets to the next generation of dreamers who'll find their way to this place. And in that whisper, I swear I can hear Eleanor's voice, telling me what she told me so many times during those childhood visits. Well done, sweet boy. Well done. The story ends here, but the legacy continues. In every seed planted, every lesson learned, every life changed by the simple recognition that we all have something valuable to contribute to the world. Sometimes the greatest inheritance isn't what we receive, but what we choose to give away. Up next, we have 2 more incredible stories that are waiting for you. Just click the image you want to watch, and it will take you there. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe. It would mean a lot.